Hey everyone, Blue Hair Dave here. Some of the things that we're going to talk about right now. The Fed takes action that doesn't require hiring. Congress is too scared to be in session but requires you to clock in at Walmart. And the Federal Reserve Chair Powell talks about a heartbreaking scenario. That and more, so let's get started.
Subscribe.
Perfect.
I've got some good news to talk about today, but first, let's talk about Congress for a little bit. Congress is on break. Some of the reasoning that they gave for being on break is that it was safer to stay out of session. And also, there isn't enough testing available for all of the senators. Is that believable? Is that correct? We couldn't get 100 tests for all the senators for Congress, but we got Joe Rogan taking a test before every single podcast, yet somehow our legislators aren't able to operate. Or are they just taking the chicken way out and not wanting to come back to work and taking a little break? I can't fathom how they're taking a break and saying that it's safer for them to stay home or to stay out of session while they're requiring you to go out and walk at Walmart, work at a fast food restaurant, and work at the clothing store when they're not coming in themselves. And they are basically supposedly in charge of running the country. So I guess they aren't really essential workers after all, are they? Are they essential at all? This really begs the question, do we need them that much? If they can't come in and write laws and help fix this problem, aren't they responsible for fixing the problem that we're in right now when they asked us to stay home? Somehow we're all able to stay at home and work remotely if possible with an office job. They have the same kind of job. They can't jump on Zoom or Skype and talk to each other and figure out some things for when they do get back in session. Somehow my 9-year-old in 4th grade is able to jump online with his class and still do his schoolwork, but Congress can't do the same? I don't know. I think that's kind of crazy. Comment below what you think about this. But I think that we as citizens did what was necessary to help with this pandemic, and now Congress doesn't even want to come in to try and help solve the problem that they asked us to sacrifice for? Okay, and now on to some better news, maybe a little more uplifting. The Federal Reserve is lending $500 billion to buy bonds of some large companies, and they're not requiring people to hire people. They're actually even going to give the stipulations aren't there that were on the loans before because they are actually requiring people to pay these back at a very low interest rate. But the worry is that some of these companies will give the money to the executives for bonuses because there's really no restriction on how they can spend this money. But the good news is that businesses are getting another $500 billion in help. Is this good or bad? So Fed Chair Powell stepped up this week and he called on Congress to do whatever it takes to fix this situation, to stop the economy from collapsing. Which begs the point, does the Federal Reserve, who we put in charge of our fiscal and monetary policy, think that we're on the verge of collapse? That's a scary thought. The Fed also said they're going to keep interest rates around zero until the economy gets back on its feet. So that's some good news. They want to keep rates near zero until the economy is solid again. This will keep credit markets liquid so that people can still get loans from banks for things like automobiles and homes. They do not want these areas drying up. There is too much money involved in the economy. And if the housing market and the auto market collapse, then that is a nightmare scenario. So the Fed is keeping liquidity in the markets by lending the money, making sure the banks can lend money. The housing and auto markets are too big to stop, at least as far as the Fed is concerned. The Fed also calls on Congress to act as aggressively as possible and needed in order to keep America strong. They said the worst thing that can happen is if Americans can't return to work and they can't return to their old paychecks and their old salaries. If we don't go back to where we started from, then there's going to be a lot of economic pain, which will ripple throughout the world. Problem is everything stopped. People stopped working for the most part. Huge portions of our economy just froze. And if we don't just start those back up and kind of start off where we left off, and they sputter and falter, and these companies go out of business, we're in for not just another recession, but a depression likely. The idea is that by stabilizing the United States, we could help stabilize the rest of the world. This doesn't mean lending out trillions of dollars to the rest of the world, although that's still a possibility. What it means is that since we trade with our partners, we buy and sell with them, if the rest of the world is sick, that means the United States will stay sick. And I'm not talking about a virus, I'm talking economically at this point. The Fed action with these businesses gives Congress the ability and freedom and space to concentrate on the American citizen. It's almost like they're saying, hey, we've got this business thing taken care of. We need you to take care of the people. Do you think that Congress is helping the people enough? Please comment down below. I need to see your opinions on this. So from this side of the desk, I feel like we've done our part. We stayed inside. We're wearing our masks. We're limiting our mobility. We're limiting our freedoms. We're doing our part as citizens. The American people have shown up and sacrificed. Now, Congress, it's your turn to do your job and to fix this mess. We know it came upon all of us, and the only way that we saw, and the whole world saw, was to freeze our economies, stay away from each other in order to get these levels down. But we can't do that. We can't give up decades of our livelihoods and our fortunes and our savings and not have help to get them back. It's your turn now, Congress and Mr. President, to do your job. I can't fathom the possibility that our government asks us to step back, withdraw from our livelihoods that feed, house, and clothe our families without a plan to make us whole again. And by whole, I mean back to where we were before this all started. Credit-wise, credit rating-wise. I mean, what's this talk about things with people if they're having trouble paying their mortgages and they have to pause their mortgage for a couple months or maybe even longer? Is that going to your credit as a forbearance? Now you've got ruined credit for a while? Read the paperwork before you sign those papers. That could be possible. Get that in writing, that it's not going to report as you missed a payment, but it'll report as maybe natural disaster, which is a temporary stumble. Many Americans have sacrificed generational wealth even in the past couple months, because if you had a restaurant that's been in your family for, say, 50 years and your grandfather owned it and your dad ran it, now you're running it or something like that, and now you don't have the business now for 2 months, maybe going on 3 months, and even when it picks back up, you can only have 25% of the employees. That's not going to make it with the current rent you're paying. And now the guy you're leasing the building from is going to have problems. This is generational wealth problems. Congress needs to step in and help fix this. So I hope and pray that it's not the case, that they don't have a plan for this and didn't have a plan for this before. I hope they get back to work and fix it. Personally, for me, working digitally, not much has changed. In fact, sometimes a lot of us are doing better online, but that is not to say that there's a good, 30 million people who are currently out of work, and that's going to keep rising, who claimed unemployment. If 30 million people claimed unemployment, that means there's even more people that haven't claimed it, that are out of work still or aren't fully employed. These are depression era levels of unemployment and people out of work without money coming in to pay rent, to pay mortgage, to buy food. I realize that I'm in a situation where I'm very privileged to be able to have earning an online job or occupation, that I'm privileged to be working online and be able to earn a living like this for over a decade, but not everybody's in the same position. So if you work in a field where maybe you're an essential worker or somebody who's not able to work right now, because even if you are able to work, do you want to be going to work? I'm really curious, because that has its own problems too with your health. So comment below and let me know if you're an essential worker or if you're somebody who's been laid off. I'm going to have updates about what Congress is doing when they get back in session. That'll be the third week of May. And I'm going to have updates on exactly what they're doing to try and fix this. So subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about this. If you're not familiar with who I am and you just watch this, my name is Blue Hair Dave, and I talk about all things work from home. I'm a digital marketer, and I also talk about ways that people can work from home, can make life changes so that they can be an entrepreneur and live the life that they want with the freedom that they want. I also do these current events because I want to inform my audience of what is happening in the world and how it affects them personally. I usually do this with a bit of comedy, but I feel like today's presentation and talk with you is a little more serious because the situation is grave. When the Fed calls something a heartbreaking scenario, you have to pay attention. Please like and comment below. I want to hear your opinion on all this, and check out some of my other videos, and I'll be seeing you later.